Ralph Frogby for WSMB.
Thank you, Ralph. It's 9:07 now on WSMB. Again, this is Information 1350. Here's some temperature information for you right now. It's 68 degrees at the airport, 68 with light clouds and the lakefront, and 67 in Belle Chase. Humidity still 97%, and winds are from the south right now at 8 miles per hour. And barometric pressure at the airport, this is a new one, 29.99 and stable. Well, it's just about 9:08 now, and we welcome back to the show for the second time. It's been quite some time, but Bill Margold is with us live from Los Angeles. Good morning, Bill.
How are you?
I'm just fine. I have, in introducing you this morning, throughout the morning, I've said that you are an adult film director and actor, and correct me on the number. I said over 150 films. Is that something in the ballpark?
It's well over 300.
300?
Yeah.
I see. You've been a busy boy, as they say.
Well, it's been about 20 years worth of product, but I have fun.
Yeah. For those that did not see the first, or listen to the first show, rather, give us a little bit about your background, how you get into the business, and then we're going to talk about the industry and what's happening with it today.
Well, I got into the industry to write about it. I wanted to be the George Clinton of pornography. I wanted to live out the fantasies of performing sex in front of the camera and then write stories about it. And they found out that I could indeed do more than write, and I became an agent, discovering people like Seika and Serena and Kelly Nichols, up through the lady that I live with now, Viper. I also have directed, written, acted, if you want to call it acting, in, like I say, over 300 productions. And essentially now I act as a spokesman for the industry. I am on the board of directors of the Adult Video Association. I'm also the founder of something called the XRCO, which is the X-Rated Critics Organization of America. So I have a lot of fun in what I call the playpen at the dam.
So the XRCO, there's actually a group of guys or girls or both that sit around and critique these movies?
Yes, in fact, when you called, I was watching a movie called Beauty and the Beast, which is in contention for the best adult feature of the year.
Well, what could make it the best movie of the year? That's what I don't
understand. It has to have more than just an X rating. It has to have more than just sex. It must have what I call the heat and the meat, which is something that adds the entertainment into the eroticism. We go a little bit further than legitimate mainstream Hollywood.
Mm-hmm. Just a little bit.
Yeah, well, X is just another letter in the entertainment alphabet, just like R is for radio.
All right. Well, let me open up the phone lines right now. If you'd like to talk to Bill, 561-8111 is the number, and as Bill's already told us, he'll take any calls. If you're really angry about this and need to sound off, I'd say you'd love to hear from them.
Oh, sure.
Let's see if people aren't too scared to talk to you. I know last time we had a few good callers, so 561-8111 is the number, and Bill Margold will be happy to take on all comers, as it were. You just came from London, didn't you?
Well, I was in London during the summer. I was over there representing a book called Porn Gold, which I'd like to believe was named after me, but it wasn't. It essentially is the business of X-rated filmmaking throughout the world. It was written by a couple of English gentlemen. It's a very humorous and insightful book about what goes on outside of the United States as well as inside the United States. That essentially, around the world, pornography is somewhat ordinary and accepted, and in the United States, which I said always is repressed and has a dirty mind when it comes to sex, and is riddled with guilt, pornography is still essentially an outlaw medium, which is one of the reasons that I'm in it. I enjoy being a rebel.
Yeah, and you've told me before that you're doing this more for the notoriety than anything else?
Oh, absolutely. The sex is secondary because it's really a mechanical form of performance in front of the camera. The money is negligible. I've never really seen that money has great value to anybody. It corrupts, in fact. I do it for the glory. I do it for the immortality factor. And I do it because I believe that I'm becoming a piece of entertainment history.
And you had a big ego, I'm guessing.
Well, yes. I'm the most interesting person that I've ever met. I have a book now called The Porn Stud Handbook, Breaking into XXX, which a person can obtain by writing one of my many companies, and that will tell them what they should do if they're interested in getting into the business, and essentially will tell them why they shouldn't get into the business, because once you do it, it doesn't go away. There is that damning immortality factor, the indelibility factor. Once it's on film, once it's photographed, it will not go away. It will haunt you the rest of your life.
Oh, well, look, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I said that to the Meese Commission. I testified in front of the Meese Commission 3 years ago and told them The same thing I'm telling you and anybody else who wants to hear about it. You have to understand that you sell your soul when you enter into the X-rated industry.
All right, well, let's talk about that. Somebody comes to you through whatever avenue and says, Bill, I want to get into the business, and let me hear some of your advice for males and for females, what you would tell them first of all.
Well, of course, the male situation is nowhere near as damning as the female situation. The males in the industry, those who remain and become stars, are celebrated as heroes and, of course, as studs, and are somewhat worshipped in their own minds and in the minds of many, many other people. You're not really damned if you're an X-rated performer, a male X-rated performer. On the other hand, a female performer, no matter how glorious she becomes, from Kay Parker, Marilyn Chambers, the infamous Linda Lovelace, of course, the notorious Tracy Lords, they're all, bottom line, thought of as whores. And that's very, very sad because, quite frankly, the females get more money. They work more and become quicker into the famous light, let's put it that way. They're more hero worship in that sense. I'm going, in fact, I'm leaving today to go to Las Vegas for the Consumer Electronics Show, where there will be an entire floor of the Sahara Hotel dedicated to the X-rated industry. It's a carnal circus where each booth represents a company, and the women stand there, and men line up to the tune of 100, 200 at a time just to get their signature. Very much like a baseball card show or a football card show. These people are worshipped as heroes. They have their own fan club, they have their own fans, they have their own fanatics. But a woman is damned much more for doing this than a man because of the very strange and unjust double standard in society.
All right, well, let's say a woman comes to you and says, Bill, I want to get into the industry. What's the first thing you're going to tell them?
Well, there are a number of things that I will tell them, but I ask them why. And if they tell me they want to get in for sex or for money, I really don't want to hear that. If they tell me they want to get in for the glory of it and they understand the damning ramifications of it, then I will allow them to come in. But the primary requisite that they must possess is that of being born hot. If I cannot sense in them that they will not become, and I'm not thinking too shocking, the masturbatory medium for the masses, then I cannot let them into the industry because they're wasting their time.
Yeah. We're going to take a short break right now. I'm going to put you on hold. Don't go away. Our guest is Bill Margold. He is the, he is an adult film actor, director, producer, and now I've been corrected. He's been in close to 300 films. We'll take a short break now, and the lines are open, 561-8111, if you'd like to ask him a question or tell him something. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
You know, for days I was anxious. The papers on my desk shuffled themselves. Voices in my head kept whispering, do it now. Do it now. Then something possessed me to go over to the desk and read my tax forms. I realized if I just do my taxes, they wouldn't be so taxing.
Don't let your taxes haunt you. File now. File accurately. And if you need some help, contact your IRS office. Make your taxes less taxing. Do them now. A message from the Advertising Council and the IRS.
Hey, if you need a new roof, call Pyramid Roofing and take advantage of this re-roofing special today. Now we're offering re-roofing at lower rates than our previous low rates. So call Pyramid Roofing today at 392-7663. Pyramid Roofing also handles all types of roof repairs, flat roofs, tile roofs, slate and shingle roofs. All the work is guaranteed. So call Pyramid today at 392-7663. That's 392-7663. For the best in town, it's Pyramid.
Hi, I'm Dan Rohan. Are you having problems with your medical claims? Are you familiar with the benefits and the workings of Medicare? Are your private insurance contracts paying you all the monies that they promised you? Are you confused by government and private sector insurance benefits? I'll be here every week to answer your health questions. So write those questions down and phone me, Dan Rohan, every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. right here on WSMB.
It's 9:17. Welcome back to the morning show. Our guest this half hour is Bill Margold, a noted actor and director of adult films. He's been in almost 300 of them, or over 300. I don't remember the number, but it's more like 300. I've been saying 150. Right now it's 68 degrees at the airport, 68 at the lakefront, 67 at Belle Chase, and 97% humidity across the board. Winds at the airport right now are from the south at 8 miles per hour, and the barometric pressure is 29.99 and stable. And here is your weather forecast for the rest of today. Partly cloudy with a few sprinkles early this morning, becoming sunny and breezy this afternoon. Highs in the upper 70s. South winds 15 to 20 miles per hour, and gusty chance of measurable rain less than 20%. Tonight, partly cloudy with lows in the mid-60s. South winds 10 to 15 miles per hour. Saturday, partly cloudy with widely scattered showers. Highs in the upper 70s. South winds 15 to 20 miles per hour and gusty. Chance of rain 20%. Actually just got some new temperatures in. Boy, you talk about a difference. It's 76 degrees now at the airport, 75 at the lakefront, 79 in Belle Chase. This is ridiculous. It's supposed to be winter. It's 9:18. Let's go back to Bill, who's been waiting patiently. Thanks for holding.
It's winter here.
Yeah.
It's in the 30s here.
In the 30s in Los Angeles.
Yes, that's exciting.
It's supposed to be 80 degrees here today.
You're welcome to it.
Yeah. Thanks. Let's get back into our discussion on getting into the business and your advice to males and females. Do you get approached a lot about getting into the business?
I get a lot of people who want to get into it. Of course, more males than females, because the males fantasize that it's very easy to perform in front of the camera, when indeed it is not. It's a very mechanical act, and there are only a few men in the world who have been able to do it successfully. When I get approached, of course, I will sit them down and talk with them. I've spent up to 6 hours attempting to talk a person out of the business before I let them into it.
Well, so what's someone's first exposure? If you've decided that someone who's come through your door is okay for the business, then what do you do with them?
Well, there are many levels of entrance into the industry, literally. Now, not all of it has to be hardcore X either. They can do a number of still shootings, which are simulated shootings, or by themselves. They can get into the bondage or the wrestling or the fetishes. They can finally then move into the sex acts themselves, depending on what they want to do. They also have the right to choose anything that they want to do. No one forces them to do anything at all. There is no gun put to their head, as Linda Lovelace said there was. I've always said the teeth are faster than the trigger finger.
Let's address that for a moment. She obviously made a lot of money and got a lot of notoriety for this book that she wrote.
That's why she did it.
Just for the money and the notoriety.
She sold out. She was going nowhere in the X-rated industry. She decided to turn on the X-rated industry. She's a patented liar. She denies working with a dog. I've seen the film. She denies. She says she was beaten before she did Deep Throat. I know people who worked on the movie. There was not a black and blue mark on the woman. There was no gun on the set. But Linda Lovelace needs to say all of that, because the world's misperception of porn is that it's foul, it's awful, that people are killed during the shooting, that people are forced into it. The worse they think about us, essentially, the better off they are. Because if we are accepted as dull and ordinary and boring and totally understood, there's no reason to enter into what I call the Garden of Eden that's surrounded by the Love Canal.
Oh, wait, let me ask you a question. Now, the Meese Commission report certainly reported plenty of behind-the-scenes nastiness, if you want to call it that you don't seem to want to address.
Well, but what they reported is what exists in another level of the gutter, as I put it. It exists in the underground. What I represent, and what I've always represented, is mainstream adult entertainment. And in the mainstream, we are vehemently opposed to child pornography, to anything that is aberrantly violent, where damage is done to the human being, and bestiality. That's working with animals, dogs and cats, horses, pigs, whatever else you might like. We don't do any of that because we are essentially a mainstream adult industry that proliferates with consenting adult material for consenting adults. It's what freedom of expression is all about. No one has ever forced anybody to look at this material, and as I told the Meese Commission, no one ever died from an overdose of pornography.
Would you say that you're a man of morals in an immoral business?
Well, I think that the business is not immoral. I think what's immoral is society itself, the thinking that sex is immoral. People think that sex is dirty. If you mention something sexual, they titter, they blush, they become embarrassed. People are extremely uncomfortable with sexual situations.
Probably always will be. It's 9:20.
right.
It's 9:22. Our guest is Bill Margold, noted adult film actor and director. Bill, I'm going to put you on hold for one more time here right now. We're going to take a traffic update with Cindy Polay and find out what's happening on the highways. Hello, Cindy.
Hi, Ron. You always have all the stars. Looking through my cameras right now at the Huey Long Bridge. There is a sandblasting crew up on the main span, and they're blocking the left lane of traffic in both directions. Now, once you pass this point, our cameras and computers clock you at 30 miles per hour across the Huey. G&O switching to these cameras. No problems on the span, and no delays on either side of the river. Metairie cameras show us no delays on the I-10, inbound or outbound in Metairie. And at the high-rise, as we switch to these cameras, looks good. Up and over, light traffic there. Cindy Polay for WSMB Traffic.
It's 9:23. Welcome back. And again, thank you, Cindy, for that traffic update. We're going to go right back immediately to Bill Margold, noted adult film actor and director. And again, it's 300 films, right?
Over 300.
Over 300. Have you lost count?
Well, there's certain ones that I get credit for that I don't even remember. That's not so much losing count as what happens with film and video is that if I do something in front of the camera, it usually winds up in more than one product. They take the scene out and shove it into something else, literally.
Yeah. Is there any honesty in the business?
What kind of honesty are you talking
Well,
about?
are there people that, I mentioned the word morals before, maybe that's the wrong word, people who are credible and people that you can trust and deal with on a legitimate basis?
Well, I'm not in the business in the dealing aspect of producing. I really am not a mover and shaker in the economic sense of the word because I don't really care that much about money. I now do, however, belong to the Adult Video Association board, which is somewhat of the establishment, but I've done that so I can protect, as I call, the kids in the industry, which are the performers. And yes, there's a sense of honor among thieves, if you want to put it that way. There is a family unit in the adult industry that protects itself from the enemies of the world. But essentially, I joined the X-ray industry to slay the dragons of ignorance. Because everybody thinks we're doing horrible things. All we are is another form and an alternative form of entertainment.
All right, let me take a phone call and see what this is all about. Hello, you're on the air with Bill Margold.
Good morning.
Morning.
John Holmes died from AIDS. Does that bother you?
Is that your blanket statement, sir?
That's what I read. I don't know that
Yes.
it's true.
Believe everything you read?
Not always.
Everything you read? You also read the...
Let me rephrase the question. Did John Holmes die from AIDS?
John Holmes died from... AIDS was the last thing that claimed the corpse. Do you want me to explain that?
I just wondered if the thought of all of the sex that you engage in bothers you that you may contract AIDS.
Well, there's the thought of driving on the Huey Long Bridge, strike fear into your heart about a car accident. We take our chances, sir. That's what it's all about.
Does that answer your question? I'll have him address the the John Holmes comment after you hang up.
Okay, there were a lot of...
Yes?
Yeah.
There were a lot of... You read also about a lot of straight stars who got their start in your industry.
Well, then you've been reading the wrong magazine.
Not true, huh?
Not true. Because
Like
there is no crossover
Sylvester
back.
Stallone is supposed to have made porno movies.
No, well, there are many degrees of X-rated material. Sylvester Stallone appeared in a softcore movie called The Orgy at Lil's. He did not even function. He did prove that he was the Italian Tony rather than the Italian Stallion, and then decided to make Rocky. There are a lot of people who have taken their clothes off. That doesn't necessarily mean they perform sexual acts. When you perform a sexual act on camera, you essentially end the possibility of crossing over into the mainstream world. That is a blanket statement.
All right, we're going to have to move on, but thank you for your call. It's 9:27 now, and good caller right off the bat. 561-8111 is the number if you have a question for Bill. The caller, Bill, asked about John Holmes.
Well,
you want to address that?
The King has been dead, these many months now, and everybody... No, if the King had been hit by an atomic bomb, they would have said he died from AIDS, because society wants to revel in our misery. The King had A, colon cancer, B, was an aggressive and abusive drug abuser to the extent of $1,000 a day cocaine and heroin habit, By the time AIDS got to him, he was already dead. And as far as our being concerned about AIDS, we take precautions from within. I told the Meats Commission we wouldn't want to build a house with a broken hammer. We protect our tools of trade. But we're certainly not going to acquiesce to safe sex any more than the Saints, your precious beloved New Orleans Saints, are going to take up playing touch football in the Superdome.
Yeah, but Bill, you know, obviously you can't say that everybody in the business is taking care of the tools of the trade, quote unquote. And what about the potential for the women that John Holmes might have infected while he worked?
The women and the men go to doctors when they feel that something is wrong with them. They use any number of non-oxynol 9 spermicides. The men, who are even more vainglorious, egotistical than the women, always protect themselves after each sex act. They're very conscientious about what they do. I would be willing to bet that within the X-ray industry, the level of any kind of sexually related situation, disease-wise, is far less than in mainstream society.
You really think so?
Absolutely.
What about this this thing we've been reading about, these new safe sex movies?
Well, you're reading about something that I firmly am against, because all of this stuff of cloaking our industry in latex is providing the audience with a second-rate form of entertainment. It's again like going to the Superdome and watching the Saints play touch football. You don't want to see that.
Now, you're saying second-rate entertainment, yet you are your own worst enemy, I think, or your own biggest critic, aren't you?
Yes, I am. I come to praise and damn the industry at the same time. I want my business to make better videos. We don't really make films anymore, but at least qualitative rather than quantitative products.
Well, how are you going to do that? I mean, what could possibly make the product better in the eyes of the consumer?
Well, that's the problem. The eyes of the consumer are the ones that are blind to the fact that a lot of what we're putting out is unusually bad. They should complain. They should write letters to the companies. But see, the whole thing is, while 1 billion of these tapes are rented a year, society refuses to admit they even watch it because they are ashamed of sex in general.
What kind of numbers are we talking about?
I'm talking in money or in tape?
Both.
Well, in money, you're talking about at least a $7 or $8 billion industry. I'm talking about adult-related.
Billion with a B.
Billion with a B. And a number of tapes rented, you're talking about 1 billion tapes. Somebody out there is renting tapes, but no one wants to admit that they're a porn fan because it's related with being dirty. They believe sex is dirty. So we roll in their carrion.
Our guest is Bill Margold, noted adult film actor and director. Bill, we're going to take a news break right now. I'm going to put you on hold, and we'll be back in just a few moments. And again, the lines are open, 561-8111. If you'd like to ask Bill Margold a question or tell him something, he'll take on all comers. And this is Information 1350 WSMB. Stay with us. John Phillip has news right after this.
The way we celebrate Christmas in America would make you think that the 12 days of Christmas are the 12 days before Christmas, when actually it's the 12 days after. Friday is the 12th day of Christmas, 12th night. I'm Tom Fitzmaurice, and on the Food Show, we'll talk about the two culinary traditions attached to that. One of them is the king cake. We'll go out looking for them. As a matter of fact, we'll have a baker who will tell how he makes them. And then we'll talk about the 12th night dish at Arno's, among other things on the Food Show, 10 till noon, 1350 WSMB.
Drug abuse in America is no longer somebody else's problem. 23 million Americans aged 12 and over currently use illicit drugs. This is Congressman Billy Tozan asking you to join me in a nationwide effort to stop drugs cold.
Welcome back to Information 1350 WSMB. It's 70 degrees at the airport right now, 70 at the lakefront. Now, these are new temperatures? Well, they are fluctuating like crazy around here. 69 at the airport, 70 at the lakefront, 69 in Belle Chase, and temperatures are supposed to get up to into the 80s today. 97% humidity, at the lakefront right now. Winds are from the southwest at 15 miles per hour, gusting to 21. We go back to Bill Margold, who has been waiting patiently. Again, Bill Margold is a noted director and actor in over 300 adult films. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Let's see, which direction do I want to go in this time? I guess, first question, is there anything you won't do in movies?
Well, I'm not into any kind of gay work. I really don't like to do, and I haven't done for about 10 to 12 years, any anal intercourse, because I believe that's an exit sign only. Otherwise, because it's all essentially performing, there isn't anything that I'm opposed to.
Yeah, you were on a show with Rona Barrett once. You want to describe what happened?
Well, that's a very interesting show. Years and years and years ago, I did a talk show with Rona Barrett where she asked me if I had any children, and I said yes. She was, of course, trying to shame me for being in the business. And she said, aha. So I said, yes, I have daughters. I have all kinds of daughters. Doesn't take much talent to have kids. And she said, would you allow your kids into the industry? And I said, well, when they turn 18, I'm not going to tell them what they can and cannot do. In fact, I might even work with my daughter myself. And that just shocked Rona to her very false teeth. And she rattled and shook. And she said, you don't mean that? I said, sure. But then, of course, she's not my type. She has bad teeth. Now, I was being as sarcastic as possible. But I'll tell you who believed it and who didn't. My friends in the quote-unquote legitimate world thought what a wonderful put-on. In fact, the Village Voice commented on that in their column the next day. But in the X-rated industry, they said, obviously I was telling the truth. I would have sex with my own daughter. Well, if they believed that, then they'll believe the Lions will be going to the next Super Bowl. This is the whole thing. The X-rated industry is unusually pristine and moralistic. It's scared of its own sexual shadow, quite frankly.
Yeah, but in a way, you haven't exactly been a friend of the industry, even though you've been in it all these years.
Well, it's not that I haven't been a friend. I've just been a very honest enemy, in a sense, that I tell the truth about the playpen for the damned. I think they're beginning to understand that what I've said all these years is the truth. I say it with my heart and soul, and I love the X-rated industry. I love what I've helped create, and that's the reason that I'm in it, because I got into the industry way back in 1969, and then got out for a while because I thought that I wrote too clean, quite frankly. Got back into it in 72, and have been very happy ever since, helping to create a certain form of entertainment for the masses.
Have you ever regretted ever getting into the business?
Oh, absolutely not. In fact, I feel like I'm sort of a Lou Gehrig, that I am the luckiest person on the face of the earth for being given a chance to be in the adult industry. I have found my niche. And I'm very, very happy. And I've just taken that niche and expanded it in all directions. I didn't just want to be a performer. I wanted to become the spokesman for the industry, and as Hustler noted, the Renaissance man, as Rona Barrett said, the Peter Pan of porn.
What
and now also the sort of the Papa Bear of porn. That's how I'm referred to. The Manchester Guardian reviewed the show that I did in London on television and referred to me as Papa Bear. I enjoy that because I really have all of these children, and these are, of course, essentially spiritual children and very, very non-blood-oriented children who I protect and watch over in the industry against the establishment. Because I don't like authority. I don't like adults, quite frankly.
All right, Bill, let me put you on hold again for just a second. When we get back, I want to address the question of what exactly you think you've done to change the industry over the years, so be thinking of that.
Okay.
It's 9:41 on WSMB, and we'll put Bill on hold and find out what the latest is happening, what the latest is. World of Weather. Ralph Sanji is with us. Hello, Ralph.
Hi, how you doing?
Okay.
We're looking at muggy conditions for this Friday afternoon, morning and into the afternoon, in fact. The temperature's slowly coming up, and the winds, too, are picking up a bit at the lakefront. They're gusting now to 20 miles per hour. For today, partly cloudy skies for the metro New Orleans area. A few sprinkles early this morning was a possibility earlier, upper 70s, and I do think there's a strong possibility we'll break into 80 degrees or maybe a degree above that. Southerly winds at 15 to 20 miles per hour and gusty. Chance of rain was less than 20%. Partly cloudy, lows in the mid-60s overnight. Southerly winds at 10 to 15 miles per hour. For tomorrow, partly cloudy skies. Widely scattered showers on the menu for us. Afternoon temperatures in the upper 70s. South winds 15 to 20 and gusty. Chance of rain is 20%. The lake conditions looking pretty much like this. Choppy on both Lake Maurepas and Pontchartrain. Small craft should exercise caution because the winds and seas are quite gusty and a little bit rough out there. So keep keep that in mind if you're planning on any lake activities. From the National Weather Network, I'm Ralph Sanchi for WSMB.
Thank you, Ralph. It's 9:43 now on WSMB. And we go back to Bill Margold, who's holding patiently. Before we go to our next caller, who's holding on the line right now, with that question that I just asked you about what you think you've changed since 1969 when you entered the business.
Well, a number of things, including what I'm doing right now. I think that in 1969, no one would ever dare talk to an X-rated personality about the X-rated industry. And I figured that when I got into the business, somebody had to spread the gospel of X, which is what I'm doing right now. And I've done hundreds and hundreds of talk shows. I go to college campuses. I lecture on a regular basis about the industry. And I feel that because I've lived every capacity of the industry, I can disseminate that material to society and try and elevate their knowledge about what we do. Besides that, in the video industry, I was instrumental in creating the first all-black video, a thing called Hot Chocolate. I created what is known as the formula for making adult videos that is used today, the mandatory 6 or 7 sex scenes, keeping it 2 or 3 locations, and punching the video out as fast as possible, as economically as possible, and putting these sort of undulating loaves of white bread on the market. I have discovered, of course, any number of legends, ranging from Seika and Serena through the lady that I live with now, Viper, and I continue to discover people and put them into the business. One of my most recent discoveries is a girl named Amanda Tyler, who is now up for Starlet of the Year through Adult Video News and possibly the XRCO. I'm very proud of what I've done. Very proud.
All right, I want to talk about Viper in just a moment, but let's take a caller. Hello, you're on with Bill Margold.
Yes, Bill, I'm curious to, the producers of X-rated films have more problems protecting against bootlegging and legal copying than makers of mainstream films?
No, essentially all of the material is protected by federal laws, and if the makers of the X-rated material or the distributors have the sense to put the warning on the tape, then they can and have prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. They have the same protections that cover legitimate films, the Motion Picture Association of America. Absolutely the same. They register the material with the Library of Congress, and many pirates, many bootleggers have been prosecuted for bootlegging X-rated material.
Did you want to get in the bootlegging business?
No, I was curious. Does Screen Actors Guild recognize the industry?
You know, you can dupe it at home and try and sell it, but 90% of the stuff that you're duping isn't worth the price of the tape that you're putting it on.
Bill, his other question was, does the Screen Actors Guild recognize the industry at all?
Absolutely not. There is no union in porn. We don't have that type of golden time, let's put it that way.
Yeah. All right, thanks for your call.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. It's 9:45 now. 561-8111 is the number. If you have a question for Bill, we've only got about 10 or 12 minutes left, so if you have a question, get them in right now, otherwise you'll miss out on your opportunity. Let's talk about Viper for a moment. Tell us a little bit about her.
Well, Viper is the love of my life, and she's an unusual woman. She came to me from connections in New York. She is an ex-Marine. She's an ex-member of the American Ballet Theater, has done approximately 70 tapes. And what makes her unique, and this of course rubs the X-rated industry the wrong way, is she's not punched out a cookie dough. She's an ebullient redhead with a rather ornate tattoo that decorates half of her body. She's pierced. I don't know if your listeners understand what that is. And she's eccentric. She's sexually wild. Very willing to gratify at a moment's notice.
Mm-hmm. Let's take another call. Hello, you're on with Bill Margold. Hello.
Apparently Viper scared them away.
Wait, there they are. Hello, you're on the air.
Yeah, how you doing?
Okay.
I'm on the air already?
Yes, you are.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm having trouble with this car phone, you know?
Car phone. There you go, Bill. That's class. You want to call back?
No, it's
okay.
fine. It's not class. It's a cheap one, you know, but if you're going to have, well, halitosis is better than no breath at all, you know?
There you go. What's your question?
The question I had was, how do you, relate to the moral people, that get on the soapbox and start saying that porn is bad and porn causes, increase in rape and...
Well, they don't know what they're talking about because porn is an end result. It gets America off. It does not get them out in the street looking to rape somebody. Rape is an act of violence, not a sexual act. A very good, legitimate movie which basically backs up what I'm saying is a thing called The Accused. I think if you take a look at that with the rape that mainstream Hollywood has depicted, it's pure violence. Those who get on a soapbox and decry what I do invariably have not seen what I do. When I take on my greatest enemies, I ask them if they've ever seen a porn film, and they say, well, no, of course not. Why would I look at that? And I say, well, sir, ignorance is truly bliss.
Right.
I think we have a bad connection. Let me let you have one more question, then we'll ask you to hang up and Bill can answer.
I just think that he ought to really stop what he's doing because it's not really right. Okay, thank you.
All right.
I should stop what I'm doing because it's not really right?
Yeah, not a lot of ammunition there, I guess.
Well, I also think that a person who uses the car phone is a risk on the highway.
Touche. It's 9:48. The lines are open at 561-8111. Bill, hold for one last time.
Sure.
We're going to take a short commercial break, and we'll be right back with Bill Margold. Stay with us.
Who has the best little warehouse sale in New Orleans?
It's 9:50 on WSMB. Information 1350. Bill, maybe that's someone you ought to talk to.
Yeah, I should get on his show.
Yeah, well, I'll suggest it to him. I've used about 8 minutes to wrap things up here. 561-8111 is the number. I urge you to call now if you want to get on the air and speak to Bill, ask him a question, or yell at him and scream. Apparently you get a lot of flack from feminists, I would guess.
Yes, I get flack from feminists. I go on against them on talk shows, and of course they speak from ignorance because they think we're forcing the women to do this. If they understood that the women, of course, do this willingly and, quite frankly, get paid more for doing it.
Let's talk about that. How much money are we talking about?
Well, an average star, quote-unquote, would get between $700 and $1,000 a day.
A day?
A day.
And what would the bigger stars make?
Well, that's the star quality, up to $1,500 a day. The males, on the other hand, invariably get only $500 to $600 a day.
And what does a day entail?
That's a full day. It can sometimes run 24 hours, but you're not working, of course, all 24 hours. The usual requirement of a female is that she perform at least 2 sexual acts. One, of course, can be a lesbian act, but the other should be heterosexual, unless, of course, she's in a totally lesbian movie.
Mm-hmm. Let me get off the subject for a second and just talk about the business in general. Where do you see it going in the future?
Well, of course, it can go no other way but toward the video boom, because as more and more households get VCRs, more and more people go inquisitively into their stores and rent Bambi and Debbie Does Dallas starring Bambi. Mm-hmm. There's going to always be a curious generation of porn viewers, so our business is going to have to provide them with the videos, because the theaters, I'm not sure if there's an adult theater in New Orleans anymore.
I think there's one left.
Okay, and it probably is showing video, because it's a lot easier to simply rent one for $1 and find out what it's all about. There are very good ones out there. As I said, when you called, I was watching Beauty and the Beast, which is in contention for Film of the Year. Maxine is another good one. Romeo and Juliet 2. The John Leslie tapes, if you'd like to see those. Night Shift Nurses, Catwoman. There are Very Dirty Dancing. And then there are a lot of very bad tapes. A person would be well advised to pay attention to the mainstream adult magazines and read the reviews. I write for a magazine called Hot Talk. Jim Holliday, the historian, has a book called Only the Best. Those people who are seriously interested in this should get those types of publications and find out what they should see.
You mean that somebody actually became a historian of this business?
Absolutely. Jim Holliday, who's a very dear friend, wanted to be the best at something, and he became the #1 historian all time, the Herodotus of hardcore in the adult industry. He knows more about the industry, has forgotten more about the industry than everybody else put together remembers.
What about all the problems you're having these days with community standards and new laws and regulations and what happened with the pandering law and all that stuff?
The pandering law, of course, we won the pandering law, essentially. It no longer exists, and now they finally look upon the performers as what they are, performers.
Explain what it was, though, in the beginning.
Well, they were always under the impression, the legal beagles thought that what we did was prostitution and that we were nothing more than whores and we were paid for performing acts of sex. The California Supreme Court sagaciously decided that we were performers. We were getting paid to act. It is a sexual act. We were paid to sexually act as, again, the New Orleans Saints are paid to perform professional football acts. That's what it's all about. Anything else that goes on legally is purely, essentially, we almost welcome the slings and arrows, because as long as people are saying that we're a horrible situation and we should be outlawed, there's a reason for us to exist. When society compliantly rolls over and allows us to do anything that we want, to go anywhere we want, then there's no reason for us to exist anymore. We must remain slightly outside of the house, undomesticated, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. You think there's anything wrong with you?
In what respect?
Mentally?
Mentally?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. I'm quite pleased with myself.
Again, that ego aspect comes in.
Of course.
Now, to your defense, you also do some legitimate movie reviews?
Well, I write for a paper called The Hollywood Press. I review legitimate films. The best couple of films of the year, Mississippi Burning and The Working Girl, both brilliant. I like film. I like film in any form, and I like to be entertained. I see nothing wrong with that, and I see nothing wrong with people wanting to be entertained. And if they happen to go to the X-rated industry to be entertained, why begrudge them their thrill?
So you really consider this entertainment?
Oh, absolutely.
Now, we have a sexologist on the show who you talked to last time. He was with me, I think, about 3 or 4 months ago when you were on.
He agreed that he uses those tapes as therapeutic aids.
Mm-hmm. But is there a place that we need to draw the line?
We draw the line when you don't want to look anymore. That's where we draw the line. We don't tell you where you shouldn't look. It's where you decide you don't want to look. Mm-hmm. You're an adult. What we make is for adults. How dare anybody tell an adult what they can and cannot see?
Right,
You've earned the right to be an adult in today's society.
Let's quickly take another call. Hello, you're on with Bill Margold.
Yeah, bro, I was wondering why they don't have, great acting in these type of films like they do, in like Officer and Gentleman. Why they don't get some of the major stars,
Of course, we could always make movies called An Orifice in the Jungle.
Thanks. Yeah, he wants to know how come they don't have major stars in these movies.
Well, because major stars would be damned into perdition if they did a hardcore act. But these people, we have our own star system. We have the John Leslies, the Jerry Butlers, the Tracy Adamses, the Annette Havens, the Alicia Monets. We have people who can qualitatively act. Have him take a look at something called Beauty and the Beast, which is the tape I was watching again. The performances in there are lyrical. We also make these things, sir, in 2 days. We don't have 2 months.
Do you miss the days of film?
I miss the days of film because we took more time, but we had just as many bad films as we have bad videos.
Mm-hmm. What about Caligula? What's the story with that?
Caligula is a mainstream $17 or $18 million movie made by Penthouse that had what I believe, well, of course it had lesbian hardcore, but it had no heterosexual hardcore. It's an overrated movie. It got its X, quite frankly, for violence. There are all kinds of strange things going on in there.
Mm-hmm.
They went out of their way to get an X. We don't have to go out of our way. We're automatically X, and we love it.
Yeah, so you think there are positive things to look forward to in your business in the years to come?
I certainly hope so. I plan to try and help it myself. I just finished the movie When Love Came to Town, which is a very interesting film about a woman who is traumatized and comes to a nightclub to learn how to get back into society. That has a real story to it. We'll see what happens with it. I have other plans for things like that. I just basically wait to see what's going to literally come up next.
What happens to, that's a good one, what happens to these performers after they get to an age where they either won't or don't perform anymore?
Well, many of them now, because the industry is magnanimous, are going behind the camera and directing and writing and publicizing the business. Those who've earned the right to do it, those who've put in their time, those who've essentially dug the ditches are now being allowed to perform on the land. Mm-hmm. And they're like John Leslie, Paul Thomas, Herschel Savage will be directing soon. Joey Silvera wants to direct. Jerry Butler will probably direct. These people are earning the right to do it, and more power to them.
Is there anything you haven't done in film that you'd like to?
Nothing sexually, of course, because I've done the sexual acts that I guess have entertained the masses. I would like to make a series of adult videos, since I can't make film, called Saturday Afternoon Matinees for Adults. Essentially, give you what you want, what you got as a kid with what you want as an adult. I want to be able to mix the sex and the adventure. I want to go one step further. And someday, hopefully, I'll be able to be given that kind of chance to do that, because I feel that's what the audience wants to see. I want to give them everything they want. I want to give them what they had as a kid with what they want as an adult.
Mm-hmm. What do you consider a compliment if somebody tells you something about something that you've been in? What's actually noted as a compliment in your eyes?
It got them off, or it got them, they laughed. I love to go to movies, and I go into the theaters occasionally, even now, even as a video. I hear them laugh, or I hear them applaud. They say thank you. That's the warmest form of gratification.
Yeah. Well, the time we have left, again, you've mentioned that you live with someone that you discovered and brought into the business. Doesn't it bother you at all that this woman goes out and performs acts and other
sex in
movies?
our business is like shaking hands. It has absolutely no personality to it. What Viper and I have together is friendship. And that is the most precious possession a relationship can have.
That sounds like it's almost the other way around of conventional mainstream relationships.
Conventional mainstream is all wrapped up in sex, and that's very sad. Their whole lives are dominated with the pursuit of sexual supposed bliss. Quite frankly, a release is a release is a release.
Are you afraid or bored of the real world by any chance?
Well, no, I'm not afraid or bored of the real world. I find the real world, when I venture into it, to be a fan of the New York Yankees or the Detroit Lions, to be rather gratifying. I go out and play football at Coldwater Canyon. That's the real world. But I think that sex, quite frankly, is the real world also, and people are scared to admit it.
Yeah. Well, this has been very interesting, a quick hour, and I appreciate you staying with us for 60 minutes.
Thank you very much.
Our guest has been Bill Margold, noted porno actor and director, 300 films. And Bill, I guess we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye. It's coming up on 10 o'clock now. It's ABC News Time. The Food Show is next. I'm Ron Small with you every Monday through Friday. Stay with us. Tom will be back after this.
From ABC News, I'm Kate Dorden. The first prosecutions in the Pentagon procurement scandal have yielded to negotiation, and at least one guilty plea. ABC's Dennis Trout has the story.
The Hazleton Corporation has agreed to plead guilty to a number of charges, including false statements and conspiracy to defraud the government. 2 company officials are pleading guilty to similar charges. And an official with the Teledyne Company, Michael Savides, also has made a deal with the government. That means that Teledyne, which could face indictment as early as this afternoon, will have a witness from inside working against it. 6 other individuals also are expected to be indicted. Navy and FBI investigators have been working on the case for 2 years. Dennis Trout, ABC News, Washington.
I'll have more after this.
If I were to say to you the 2 words talk show, probably the first name that wouldn't pop into your head is Pat Sajak. But think about it. He's warm and friendly. Well, you'll be able to see all this for yourself when the Pat Sajak Show comes to CBS Late Night. It's not going to be Johnny, and it's not going to be Dave. You're going to be surprised. Make a break for Pat Sajak weeknights beginning January 9th on CBS Late Night. So the next time you hear the 2 words talk show, what's the first name that'll come to mind? Okay, then what's the second?
This is Dusty Lenskamp with a little holiday song about our new bonus points that I'll sing for you while you're getting your film ready to bring to Kmart for film developing. Bonus points are given you for each picture that you took. You save them up for film developing in this handy little book. Oh, yeah, and fa-la-la.
As long as you come to Kmart, don't forget the film.
The unemployment picture ended the year on an up note as unemployment dipped down 0.1% to 5.3%, but that's not what pleases Cornell University economist Ronald Ehrenberg.
If the jobless rate has temporarily dipped 0.1 of a point doesn't mean that much. The important thing is that it hasn't gone up.
Professor Ehrenberg adds a caveat, however. He says the improvement for December owed much to retail jobs coming online. There was a fairly considerable fall in new manufacturing jobs. The UN Security Council is preparing to meet for day 2 of its discussion of the American downing of 2 Libyan jets. UN Ambassador Vernon Walters says the U.S. will present more evidence today of the defensive nature of the American action. In Paris, George Shultz, the Secretary of State, will be meeting this weekend with leaders from other nations in a session devoted to talking about chemical warfare. ABC's Don Klastrup says the shadow over this meeting is the U.S.